Good afternoon, doers. This is Sunny from Sunny Does Life. Follow me at Sunny Does Life on IG. That's SUNNYDOESLIFE. I just wanted to come on and provide some clarity for you for the stimulus package that was passed on yesterday. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play this video for you because I think it's really good. It's just a short video and it pretty much explains everything in a nutshell. I'm also going to explore the actual sources and let you know other things that are in the stimulus package.
Means for you and me. I talked about this yesterday, but a lot of people still have questions, so I think it's worth repeating. If you make $75,000 or less, you would get a check for $1,200. If you're married and as a couple, you make $150,000 or less, you would get a check for $2,400. If you have children, you would get $500 per child. If passed, the White House says we could see this money in about 3 weeks. And if you have direct deposit with the IRS, you'll get your check faster than if you have to wait for one to come in the mail. This is a one-time payment, which is why the boost to unemployment insurance benefits that's part of the deal could be more helpful in the long run for folks. But I'll get back to that in a minute. Many of you have asked if people on Social Security will get these rebates. I talked to certified financial planner Josh Frankel about that.
Yeah, as far as we know that they would be eligible, and the one-time payment that the government hopes to get people in the next 3 to 4 weeks is based on adjusted gross income. So whether you're on Social Security or not, it's going to be based on your overall income if you're eligible.
If you need more than just a one-time check, the relief package also waives the fee for pulling money out of a retirement account early. It's still taxable, though. So Josh recommends consulting your financial advisor before making any moves.
Just because you can take money out of a retirement account without a penalty doesn't mean you should. So we really think that you need to get guidance before doing that. But there are certainly lots of other considerations when drawing down on retirement.
The relief package also boosts unemployment insurance benefits, which is good news because the Oregon Employment Department is seeing a record number of people file claims. This relief package would expand who's eligible for benefits to include people who are self-employed and work in the gig economy, and give workers an additional $600 a week for 4 months on top of what the state is already paying. And finally, for small businesses, it would create a more than $350 billion loan program. And if businesses keep workers employed until this is over, many of those loans could be forgiven. These are all short-term fixes to help us get through until things get back to normal. I'm Lindsay Nadrich, KGW News.
Okay, so basically, like she said, if you make $75,000 a year, $75,000 a year or less, you will receive $1,200. You receive a direct deposit or paper check for $1,200 within 3 weeks. Now, she said that is looking at your adjusted gross income. Your adjusted gross income is the income that is considered for your taxes. So, some people are saying they make more than $75,000, but if they have a lot of write-offs, if you have a lot of write-offs and tax credits, then it might dip below $75,000. You have to look at your last tax return. Go to irs.gov and look up your last tax return to see what your adjusted gross income was. If you didn't file in your 2019 taxes, Then you need to look at your 2018 taxes to see what your adjusted gross income was. You need to have filed in 2018 or 2019 in order to get your stimulus check. I'm not sure what they're going to do with the people that haven't filed in 2 to 3 years. But I know they're basing it on 2019 or 2018 if you haven't filed 2019. Married couples who earn $150,000 or less will also qualify. You will get $1,200 apiece. $1,200 plus $1,200 is $2,400. Again, this is based on you all's adjusted gross income. Okay? Each child that you have claimed as a dependent, each child will receive $500. I am going to check to see if there's a cap, but I heard that there is a cap of 3 children. So if you have 7 children, you will not be receiving $500 for each child. Now that's just the what I've heard, but I'm going to check it to make sure. So if you're a single parent of 2 kids, you will get $1,200. Then each kid will get $500. So your check will be $1,200 plus $1,000. So that's $2,200 that you will get. This is what they're saying. We won't know until it actually happens, to be honest. We really won't know. So it's really just some chump change, to be honest. But either way, you shouldn't get excited about it. You shouldn't even be excited about it anyway, because it's just $1,000 or a couple $1,000. But another reason you shouldn't be excited is because you really won't know until you get it. You really won't know if you're getting it until you get it. And we just hope that the check doesn't bounce. There's nothing certain right now. I'm just sharing the information because people want to know. Okay? Now, someone said, where can I get more information? Go to whitehouse.gov. Okay? I need everyone to be informed. Go to whitehouse.gov. Let's see. All of his press briefings are, all the transcripts for the press briefings are on whitehouse.gov. Now we need to find the stimulus bill. Stimulus bill. Let's see. They have remarks on here. Now I want to find the actual stimulus bill. Okay. I want to find the stimulus bill, like the transcript. Let's see. Guess I'm gonna have to just find it on my own. Read entire stimulus bill. Where can I read the entire? Is this it? Okay, what date is on this? 3/12. 3/12. Let's see. CARES. I thought it was called the CARES bill. This is congress.gov. Let's see. I didn't leave baseball. What in the world? Okay. Here it is right here. Okay, this is the bill. Let's see. 116 countries, United States of America. Families First Coronavirus Response Act. Okay, so they're putting families first. That's great. The first thing they address is the food and nutrition services. Food and nutrition services. They're saying 400 million is to remain available through September 30th, 2021. And the secretary may use up to 100 million for costs associated with distribution of commodities. Public health emergency during fiscal year 2020 in any case in which a school is closed for at least 5 consecutive days during a public health emergency designation during which the school would be otherwise in session. Each household containing at least one member who has an eligible child attending school shall be eligible to receive assistance pursuant to a state agency plan approved by subsection B. So if you have children, you qualify for other benefits through this stimulus package. You have to read the bill. To carry out this section, the Secretary of Agriculture may approve state agency plans for temporary emergency standards of eligibility and levels of benefits under the Food and Nutrition Act for households with eligible children. Plans approved by the Secretary of State provide for supplemental allotments to households receiving benefits under such act and assurances to households not already receiving benefits. Such level of benefits shall be determined by the Secretary in an amount not less than the value of meals at the free rate over the course of 5 school days for each eligible child in the household. So you will have to go into your food stamp, go to your food stamp office website for your state and apply for food stamps. Apply for, what's the professional term for it now? Not food stamps, but whatever. You go to your food stamp website for your state and apply for food stamps if your household has eligible children that were attending school. Minimum closure requirement. The Secretary of Agriculture shall not provide assistance under the section in this case of a school that is closed for less than 5 consecutive days. Okay. Use of EBT. A state agency may provide assistance under this section through the EBT card system established under Section 7 of the Food and Nutrition Act of 2008. Release of information. Notwithstanding any other provision of the law, the Secretary of Agriculture may authorize state educational agencies and school food authorities administering a school lunch program under the Richard B. Russell National School Lunch Act to release to appropriate officials administering the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program such information as may be necessary to carry out this section. So the schools still have to provide breakfast and lunch to your student. If you have students, the schools still have to provide breakfast and lunch. Okay? They don't put a requirement on exactly what they have to give them because I've seen really snack-looking lunches come out of the schools lately that don't really look like like good filling lunch, but by government requirements they have to provide food, some type of food at breakfast and at lunch, or enough to cover both of those meal times for each enrolled child. Okay. For an additional amount for defense health programs, $82 million to remain available until September 30, 2022 for health services consisting of SARS-CoV-2, COVID-19 related items and services as described in Section 6006A. Okay, so they're giving $82 million to the Defense Health Program. $15 million is to remain available until September 30th, 2022 for the purposes of carrying out Family First Coronavirus Response Act operations support. For an additional amount for Indian Health Services, $64 million to remain available until September 30th. Okay, so Indian Health Services, they have a separate budget for the Indians, I guess. Okay, so we go down here. For additional amount for aging and disability services, $250 million remains available until September 30th for activities authorized for older Americans. Home delivered nutrition services. So if you are a senior citizen and you need food delivered, you need to find out where to get those, because those will be free during this time. Emergency food services for the elderly is covered under this bill. Public Health and Social Service Emergency Fund, $1 billion to remain available for public health and social service emergencies. Okay. Medical services, $30 million under Veteran Affairs. Medical community care, $30 million. Okay. Maintain essential access to lunch for Student Act. So the students will still be fed. Physical presence waiver. So you don't have to show up at the WIC office in person anymore. You can file online. Everything can be online and you can still get approved for your WIC, for your food stamps, all that stuff. Yeah, just read the bill. It's a public health emergency. In the case of unemployment, temporary federal matching the first week of extended benefits for states with no waiting week. Temporary federal matching for the first week of extended benefits for states with no waiting week. Paid sick leave. If you have a medical diagnosis, you get paid sick leave. A medical diagnosis for COVID-19. Coverage at no cost if you have COVID-19 and you're using Medicaid and CHIP or Medicare Advantage. Coverage of testing for COVID at no cost sharing for Indians receiving purchase referred care. Coverage for veterans and coverage for federal civilians. Tax credits for paid sick leave and paid family and medical leave. Payroll credit for required paid sick leave. All right, so there's the bill. There it is. I'm going to post this on my page. You can find me at queensociety.net or sunnydoeslife.com. Here I am right here. See if I can post the bill. Yep, it's better to be informed. Okay, so let's go to the summary of it. Okay, so let's see. What's in the $2.2 trillion coronavirus stimulus bill? blah, 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 blah. So what's in the bill? Small business assistance, one-time checks, business tax cuts, expanded unemployment benefits, health spending, aid to state and local governments, disaster assistance, food stamps and safety net, other spending, education spending, personal tax cuts. Here's an overview. $1,200 checks for millions of Americans. The Senate package would send direct checks to tens of millions of families to stimulate the economy, a plan pushed by President Trump and Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin to help families deal with the economic shock of the virus. The legislation would give taxpayers $1,200 per adult and $500 per child. The benefit would be smaller for individual taxpayers earning over $75,000 annually, $150,000 for couples filing jointly, and it will disappear altogether for individuals earning over $90,000. Eligibility for the benefit will be determined by taxpayers' 2019 or 2018 tax return. Critics have said tying eligibility to last year's tax returns could mean the benefit fails to reach those hit by the current downturn. Critics have also raised concerns that it would be difficult for the poor and homeless to receive the benefit. Mnuchin, how do you say his name? I don't know. Mnuchin said Wednesday he wants the money to be sent in the next few weeks, and it will arrive via direct deposit or mail based on your 2019 or 2018 tax return. Former IRS officials have said the timeline is aggressive. Nancy Pelosi on Monday unveiled a more aggressive version of the plan, pushing for the checks to be $1,500 per adult and $1,500 per child. But she didn't get it. Loans for large businesses and governments, $510 billion. If they use the money to pay their employees instead of using it to buy back their stocks, to raise the stock price, the price per share, then they will not have to pay the money back. Loans and grants for small businesses, $377 billion. Stimulus checks, $290 billion. Passenger airline gets $25 billion. Business tax cuts of $280 billion. Health-related spending, $180 billion. Funding for state and local governments, $150 billion. Expanded unemployment benefits, $260 billion. Transportation, $72 billion. Disaster aid, $45 billion. Welfare program, $42 billion. Education, $32 billion. Other, $25 billion. The Senate plans to overhaul the unemployment system. The proposal extends unemployment benefits to people who may not have been fired but are unable to work as a result of coronavirus because they are sick, quarantined, or need to take care of a child forced to stay home from school. Under the Senate bill, the federal government will provide an additional $600 on top of the existing unemployment benefit, which are currently at an average of $300 for 4 months. So that's an average of $900. $900 a week, I'm thinking. Yeah, $900 a week. Yeah. Because in Texas, unemployment averages at about, well, they top out at, I believe, 420. So you will be getting about 1,020 a week in Texas. Anywhere from 900 a week to $1,020 a week in Texas if you file unemployment. If you are quarantined or not able to go to work, you need to file unemployment. It doesn't matter if you're driving Uber or if you were a waitress, it doesn't matter. File unemployment. It's better to go ahead and file and possibly get denied than to not know at all whether you would qualify. So go ahead and file unemployment and see. Go to your unemployment website. Just type in unemployment for Texas, file unemployment for, and type your state, and they will show you what website to put in the application. They'll show you what website to use for that. So they're giving $600 on top of what the states are already giving. Okay. The new benefits will be covered by the federal government, as employers are expected to get hammered and may lose the capacity to fund unemployment benefits. A previously passed coronavirus package gave states $1 billion in additional funding to prepare their unemployment programs for the expected onslaught over the coming weeks. Small businesses will receive emergency aid. You will get 0 interest loans. These loans could be forgiven if the firms follow certain conditions, such as not firing their workers. The loans convert to grants if used for covering employee salaries, rent, paid leave, utility payments, health insurance, premiums, or other necessities or worker protections. The legislation includes guardrails aimed at preventing business owners from pocketing the money being lent. Loans given to firms with tipped employees, such as bars and restaurants, could be forgiven if they are used to provide additional wages to their employees. Nonprofits can also apply for these loans.
showing Hey everyone, welcome back. This is Mark with Tiresias Trading and More Money Guru. Thanks for joining us. It's March 27, 2020, and just doing a market recap for the day. Newsletters that I put out there in terms of stimulus bill signed, so that is now officially there. Airlines were, I believe, are going to get some money, but cruise lines were left out, if I'm not mistaken. So RCL, there's Royal Caribbean, Carnival, here's American Airlines, Delta, Southwest, LUV. But in general, kind of the market, from just the daily candle here, it doesn't look too bad. But if you were watching the market, you saw what happened right at the end here. This is today's trading range. It's kind of, it gapped down, and we had a little bit of a move. We're kind of moving up, coming into the close, and we're thinking, hey, last 30 minutes we may close green, and boom, two big red candles right in the last 30 minutes. The two 15-minute candles kind of pulled back. Now we didn't close at the lows, and so the optimist in me is going to say, hey, that's a good sign. The pessimist in me, though, says it's not a fun close at the end of the day. A few updates on some of the stocks and the funds that I've been mentioning before. I mean, pretty much everything. There's Square, kind of opened gap down, but finished decently strong. Not terrible, but still off for almost 5% today. Restoration Hardware at one point was green. Okay, it did finish up, so that's good. The Fund USA, the closed-end fund, was red. But in terms of just kind of where the market ended up for the week, obviously positive, so that's great. Honestly, it's just nice to have some calm in the markets. Interestingly, today, this trading session, high yield bonds finished green and fairly strong. I mean, they kind of led the way today. There is a fairly big premium on the ETF as far as how it relates to NAV. So there's still a lot of risk in high yield right now, especially with oil. I'm just going to use USO as the indicator here, but oil prices have just been continuing to go down and down and down. I filled up today. We're here in Florida. I filled up today for $1.85. Pretty darn cheap here. And oil, a lot of the high yield bond market has heavy energy exposure. So you have these smaller companies, smaller oil and natural gas types of companies that are in the high yield space, yet there's this disconnect between oil and high yield, which I find very interesting. So I would not necessarily say I'm a big bull on high yield at this point in time, but I think part of what's causing this bounce in the high yield market is simply that the spreads on high yields versus treasuries has gotten so big that there's a lot of just push going into high yield, just strictly looking at the yield of the funds themselves, or the yield of this ETF in particular. I don't know if I would be quite so confident jumping into high yield at this point. Now back on the lows here, this was an attractive buying point simply because the yields had spiked so much given the price decline. In this area, though, given that NAV is still pretty disconnected from current price, I would not hesitate at all to say that this is going to correct a little bit. On the municipal bond side, Muni, we saw another green day, not so much on the high yield side. On the high yield side, inside the munis, we kind of pulled back just a little bit, but overall, on the muni side, another good day. I mean, if you were a municipal bond holder, it was painful for 2 weeks, and you're going, whew, I'm glad I held on right now because we're almost back to.
FYI, if you didn't know, green means the share, the stock, it gained money. Red means it lost money. So the price of the stock either went up or down. If it lost money, it's red. It's in red over here. If it gained money, if it went up, it's in green. That's how it shows up on every trading platform as well.
Where we were prior to this whole mess. And I figured that there would be a snapback in prices. Obviously, I didn't know when, but I will admit that the Fed coming in, cutting rates to zero, and backstopping short-term municipal bonds definitely created a confidence in the muni market. So that's definitely pulling things back upwards to probably what I would consider fair value, which is still certainly less than where they were, but providing at least some stability in the prices.
The voice was
I think
fantastic.
it's just as close.
That's pretty amazing. That's about the same thing, right, Kevin? I
Yes.
think? So that's fantastic. But I want to thank Republicans and Democrats for coming together, setting aside their differences, and putting America first. This legislation provides for direct payments to individuals and unprecedented support to small businesses. We're going to keep our small businesses strong and our big businesses strong, and that's keeping our country strong and our jobs strong. This historic bill includes the following: $300 billion in direct cash payments will be available to every American citizen earning less than $99,000 per year, $3,400 for a typical family of four. So family of four, $3,400. And then $350 billion in job retention loans for small businesses, with loan forgiveness available for businesses that continue paying their workers. The workers get paid. Approximately $250 billion in expanded unemployment benefits. The average worker who has lost his or her job will receive 100% of their salary for up to 4 full months. So things like this have never happened in our country. $500 billion in support for hard-hit industries, with a ban on corporate stock buybacks. We don't let them buy back the stock. We don't let that happen. And tough limits on executive compensation. Over $100 billion to support our heroic doctors, nurses, and hospitals, and you see what's happening. And I want to thank, while we're here, also the incredible job that's done by the Army Corps of Engineers and by FEMA. It's been incredible. They did 4 hospitals in 2 days or 3 days in New York, and they're like incredible structures. What a job they've been doing, and they're doing them all over the country. $45 billion for the Disaster Relief Fund, supporting our state, local, and tribal leaders. $27 billion for the development of vaccines, therapies, and other public health response efforts, including $16 billion to build up the strategic national stockpile with critical stockpiles. And we have tremendous supplies coming into the stockpile, and you'll be seeing that and hearing about it a little bit, because we're doing a news conference at 5:30 on what's happening. We've had tremendous results on the respirators. We've had great results on just about everything we're talking about. Boeing just announced that they're going to be making the plastic face shields, the actual shields, which are hard to come by, and they're going to be making them by the thousands a week. And the ventilators, which is probably the most difficult, because it's like building a car. We will be announcing thousands are going to be built, and we have them under contract, and we have fast deliveries. As you know, we delivered thousands to New York, and unfortunately they were delivered to a warehouse, which was good. Unfortunately, they didn't take them, but now they're taking them. New York is now taking them and redistributing them around the areas that they need. So you have also $3.5 billion to states to expand child care benefits for healthcare workers, first responders, and others on the front lines of this crisis, and $1 billion for securing supplies under the Defense Protection Act. And as you know, I've enacted the act. We've used it 3 or 4 times. I pulled it back 3 times because the companies came through in the end. They didn't need the act. It's been great leverage. I have instituted it against General Electric. We thought we had a deal for 40,000 ventilators, and all of a sudden the 40,000 came down to 6,000. And then they talked about a higher price than we were discussing, so I didn't like it. So we did activate it with respect to General Motors, and hopefully maybe we won't even need the full activation. We'll find out. But we need the ventilators. I said hello today. I called him a wonderful guy, Boris Johnson. As you know, he tested positive. And before he even said hello, he said, "We need ventilators." I said, wow, that's a big statement. And hopefully he's going to be in good shape. I just spoke to Angela Merkel, and she's quarantined also. She is right now for a period of 2 weeks being forced to stay in her house. So this is just an incredible situation. Last night I spoke to President Xi. We talked about the experience that they had in China and all of the things that have taken place, and we learn a lot. They've had a very tough experience, and they're doing well, and he's doing well. President Xi is doing very well, but we learned a lot, and we have great communication together. We're going to be sent great data from China, things that happened that they see that they've had an early experience, and we're getting all of that information. Much of it has already been sent. It was sent yesterday and sent to our scientists to study. So we'll have more on that also. We'll be discussing that at 5:30. I just want to thank the people behind me. They've been incredible friends. They've been warriors. There's nobody tougher or smarter than the people standing alongside of me. And I think I want to start off by asking Mitch and then Kevin to speak, and then we're going to go through a few of the folks in the room if they'd like to say something. But Mitch, I'd love you to say a few words, because this man worked 24 hours a day for a long time. This is the result. It's the biggest ever approved in Congress, $6.2 trillion. So, we used to get used to the billion. It used to be a million, then it was billion, now it's trillion. And it's going to go a long way. It's going to make a lot of people very happy. Mitch McConnell, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, let me just say this is a proud moment for our country, for the President, the Republicans, and the Democrats all pulled together and passed the biggest bill in history in record time. I also want to thank Kevin McCarthy and our leaders on the Republican side in the House who helped speed this through to passage. The American people needed this rescue package. They needed it quickly, and we delivered. It's a proud moment for all of us. Mr. President, thanks for the opportunity to be here.
I'd love to shake your hand, but Anthony would get angry at me if I did that. So I better not do it. I can't. It's so natural. I just want to go back and shake his hand. They have done such an incredible job. Kevin, please.
Yeah, I do want to start. I want to thank all. The real answer to America is we're listening to you. You do your part, and we're going to do ours, and that's exactly what's happening today. What Leader McConnell did was amazing. He made it bipartisan, bicameral. Everybody was involved. I wish we could have signed this earlier this week. Maybe there wouldn't be as many people who are out of work, but this will put people back to work. I also want to thank Secretary Mnuchin. You've done an amazing job, and we thank you for that, and all the team that's here. Look, as I said in my speech, the virus is here. We didn't ask for it. We didn't invite it. We didn't choose it, but we are going to defeat it together, because we're going to work together, and this is the first start of it. The hospitals will get money, the money they need. The small businesses will be able to hire their employees back. That is a grant. You don't have to borrow from that place. The other businesses get a retention to keep your employees on. This has something for everything, and to the task force and the vice president, all the work that you're doing with this president, this will be the needed resources you need as well. And so thank you for that, and thank you for your leadership, Mr.
Very
President.
special. Mike Pence, Mike. could you please say something? You've been working very hard in charge of our task force, and then I'd like to ask Steve to say a few words.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thanks for giving me the opportunity just to express all of our appreciation and the gratitude of the American people for the accomplishment that's reflected in the legislation that you'll sign in just a few moments. You told the American people that we would do whatever it takes. You called on the Congress to step forward to make coronavirus testing free for every American, to make paid family leave available. The Congress, with the leaders gathered around us here, stepped forward in a bipartisan fashion and delivered. But today, every American family, every American business can know that help is on the way. And I want to thank Leader McConnell for his yeoman's work in really forging a bipartisan bill in the United States Senate. I want to thank Leader McCarthy for his great work. But as the President said, I also want to thank the Democrat and Republican leadership across the House and Senate. This is an American accomplishment. Mr. President, it's exactly what you asked the Congress to deliver for the American people.
Thank you very much, Mike. And Steve Mnuchin, you know how hard he's been working. And Steve, please say a few words.
Mr. President, thank you very much for your leadership and for the Vice President's leadership. You made it very clear to us last week we should think big, that this was a war on the virus, and that we should have the resources to protect American workers and American business. And I'd like to thank the Senate. It was a great honor, Mitch, to work with you and everyone on a bipartisan basis to get this done. This is going to be a great thing for the American workers. And Kevin McCarthy, thank you for all the work in the House did to pass this quickly. So at Treasury, as I've said, we are committed to move forward quickly, and we're going to get money in people's pockets quickly. Thank you, Mr. President.
Great job, Steve. Gene, please.
This is a great day for American workers. Protecting American workers, American jobs has been a hallmark of this presidency, and this bill today is another very important step in that direction. It includes unprecedented support for American workers who've lost their jobs through no fault of their own, but because of this virus, and gives them as near as we could the same wage they would have gotten through unemployment insurance if they'd been able to keep their jobs for up to 4 months. I think even more important, it includes $350 billion in loans for small business, but structured in a way to incentivize them to keep their workers on payroll so that those loans can be forgiven at the end of the period. And it comes on top of legislation the President signed last week for paid leave for workers who have to be at home because of the virus. Paid leave reimbursed in full, dollar for dollar, to the employer. It's the first federal paid leave law for the private sector ever, and that also was achieved on an unprecedented bipartisan basis. This is the third major bipartisan piece of legislation in 3 weeks, 3 bills, 3 weeks, to address this virus. So again, I want to thank the President for his leadership, his commitment to American workers, the Vice President as well, and Leader McConnell, and also my colleague, Secretary Mnuchin, who did work so hard to help you get this done.
Dr. Fauci, you may want to just say for a minute what hit the world. Something hit the world, and the world maybe will never be quite the same, but we're going to make it a great place anyway. But certainly you could maybe say a few words about that.
Well, thank you, Mr. President, and I want to thank everyone involved in this. This is what America is all about, a bipartisan approach with your leadership to do something that's sorely needed by the American people. Dr. Birx and I and all of our medical people here are fighting the virus directly, but the virus has an impact on the American people, both directly by illness and death, but also indirectly because many of the things that we have to do to suppress the virus has a negative impact because of what we're doing. To give them relief economically is absolutely essential. So I feel really, really good about what's happening today. Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much. Deborah, perhaps you could say a few words also about.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Dr. Fauci covered it very well. As many of you know, I worked for him and he was my mentor 40 years ago. I think whenever we start with one of these very serious diseases and a pandemic, the president's first goal was ensuring the health of the American people, and that's why we put out these very strong guidance. It's been a pleasure to work with the economic team here because they understand data in the same way, economic data and health data.
With the healthcare team you've got here too, we're doing the right things for the American people, and they know that. I can tell you that from the ground. It's not easy.
No,
it's not easy. We don't want to shelter in place as Americans. We want to be out, especially in the Northwest.
Yeah.
But we know we have to do this for the safety of our relatives and families and our community and our country. So thanks for your leadership
you
and
very
the
much,
great
Chris.
team you've assembled.
Appreciate it very much.
Yeah. On behalf of small businesses, they're the backbone of the American economy. About half the people that work in America work for a small business, and they're hurting out there right now. I'm from Ohio. I'm the ranking member of the House Small Business Committee. And back there, non-essential small businesses are shut down. Without this legislation, it's questionable whether they would reopen. Because of this legislation, they now have a great chance of that. And those people that work for small businesses that are shuttered now will be paid. That's really important. This wouldn't have passed without your leadership, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And you know, Eric worked so hard. You all know Eric. And he was at Steve's side the whole way. And where's our man? Do I see Larry? Yeah, Larry. The two of them. How about Eric and then Larry say a couple of words?
Well, thank you very much,
that was
Mr.
easy.
President. Really appreciate it, and Mr. Vice President as well. So you encouraged your team to be bold, be brave, and go big, and we certainly delivered today. $6.2 trillion is tremendous. So we've made sure that we can reassure Americans that their paycheck is protected and that their earnings are protected. We've made sure that we can provide significant reinforcement to the American economy as a result of your leadership. And finally, looking ahead to address the virus, we've included significant resources in order to ensure that those therapies and ultimately that vaccine can come online as quickly as possible. So protecting the public health and protecting the economic health of America is what you've directed us to do. And together with the team, we've worked hard to deliver today. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
And Steve is going to work very hard on getting the money out quickly. And hopefully it can be distributed very quickly, especially when they have some old computer equipment that they have to use, but you're going to work on that very hard. Larry, please. Larry.
Oh, thanks, sir. Just hats off to Mitch McConnell. Did an amazing job, and House leadership as well. And I agree with the bipartisanship. I want to give special thanks to my friend Stephen Mnuchin, who I think did an extraordinary job. We were up there helping him out in one spot or another, but he's indefatigable and got it done. And I'll just say this, Mr. President. A few months ago, this economy was roaring, and we've hit this, literally this bug, this virus, and we will deal with it. And I think the assistance bill here, which does have growth incentives, will help lead us back to a very strong economic rebound before this year is over.
I think that too. I think we're going to have a tremendous rebound at the end of the year, toward the end of the year. I think we're going to have a rebound like we have never seen before. Even now, it wants to rebound. You can see it, feel it. It wants to rebound so badly. And, you know, we've had those really big, I guess the biggest ever stock market surge 2 days ago, and yesterday was great. 3 biggest days in the history of the stock market. It wants to rebound so badly, but we have to get rid of the bug. We have to get rid of the virus. Now, I'm going to sign this, and it's a great honor. $6.2 trillion. I've never signed anything with a T on it. I don't know if I can handle this one, Mitch. We can't chicken out at this point, can we? I don't think so, huh? All right, thank you all. Good, I wanted that to be a nice signature. That was- Kevin, come on, fellas, come on over here. Elaine, what a job she's doing with transportation. How's transportation, okay?
You always talk about the supply chain.
I do.
It's really important.
I do.
This
You better
bill is going to
believe
help
it.
the supply
You better
chain and the
believe it.
workers.
Thank you very much. Anthony? Thank you. Thanks, Tony, very much. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Appreciate it.
Bob Lightheiser, thank you very much. Bob was a little less involved in this. He's too busy making trade deals. Okay, do you have one? Well, you definitely have to have one. Go ahead. You're all set. Thank you, everybody. So we're going to have a 5:30 news conference in the same location. Seems to be doing quite well. And we appreciate everything, and we really appreciate the fairness, at least from most of the press. We really do. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, there was a rare moment.
So there you have it. The stimulus package. Great for business owners. Not so great for families. But you can use that $1,000 or $3,000 or however much you're getting for your family. You can use it to start what's his name? Dave Ramsey's program. You can put it in your emergency fund, and then just look up Dave Ramsey's debt snowball program. You can start that with it so you can get your debt under control, build your credit profile, increase your credit score in order to get lower interest rates on loans and perhaps start your investment portfolio. Because that's what I would do if I were you and I were receiving that. If you have any questions, you can email me at sunnydoesinvesting@gmail.com or send me a message on Facebook. If you type in queensociety.net, my Facebook will pop up, and it's very simple to send me a message on Messenger. Okay? You can also follow me on IG at Sunny Does Life and send me a message on there as well. We are in this together, so give me a shout out if you need anything or if you have anything you want to add to the conversation, and I will respond as soon as I can. Thank you and have a good day. Bye.